Well, we start off the Championship Round 2 review with some very, very important trials and tribulations throughout the league. Preston North End again are looking for a new manager as their interim manager has walked away from the role. It's going to be really interesting to see how these things do develop. The likes of QPR with their new signing. Sheffield Wednesday, how do they get on against Sunderland in what looked to be a very important playoff game? You look at the likes of Middlesbrough versus Derby as a game which can be really important in that battle for not only promotion but also relegation at the other end of the pitch. How did Blackburn Rovers get on? We're going to get into everything about every single league fixture in the division in this video, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell to stay tuned for when my next match preview or match review drops for the Championship. We've got League One coming out in a few days too, so make sure you've got that notification bell turned on, and let's get straight into it. Just before we get into the first game, make sure you check the description for the timestamps for whichever game you want to watch. I try and keep it all down there for you so you can just skip to what you want to watch. You don't have to watch the full thing, and make sure you do check that description, check where you're going to be watching, and then hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell. Well, we start off with an interesting one, and one which probably hurts for some of these Oxford United fans who put up a valiant effort versus Coventry City on Friday night, but Coventry City were able to come away 3-2 victors with a 96th minute winner. Wright picking up 2 goals, 15th and in the 96th, with Van Iwick picking up the second on 31. Now, Oxford United were well in this game with a goal on 22, putting them on level terms, and another goal on 55 again, making it level. But let's take a look into the match momentum and sort of the basic statistics, and you'll see that for me, I think it's important to read into this game a lot because Coventry City were really good and they did have a lot of control in this game, and it's not one that I'm going to put down on Oxford, because if you go back towards Oxford in the playoff final against Bolton, they do this against teams sometimes where they'll give up all the possession and let them hold on to the ball, let them create their chances, and they'll hit them on the counter and take their chances. And that's what I felt like Des Buckingham was trying to do with his Oxford United squad in this game. Now, if we do look at some of the just basic numbers, it's 64% possession to 36, which, to be fair, if you think about one of the teams that are going to be battling for promotion and one of the teams that really their main aim is survival, I think that's sometimes to be expected. You look at the expected goals, 2.95 to 0.96, 26 shots to 7, 6 big chances to 1. Now, I do think it's one of those games where it's really interesting to see how not only Coventry City but the promoted side take to it, if that makes sense. Now, obviously, if we do look at the two sides, we all know how good this Coventry City side can be, and we all know what Mark Robins has done over the past few years with Coventry City. But we also know that this Oxford United side are not going to be scared of anyone. You look at how they performed in the opening day versus Oxford, and I think that's something which they sort of did drag into this game. And obviously, they've still got a long way to go. Every team in this division do. 44 matches still left to play. But you look at that Coventry City side, the likes of Rudani, Sims, Wright, Sakamoto, really, really good players in the Championship division. And I'm not saying Oxford United don't have that yet, but they're still developing their team into proving that they're Championship quality. And obviously Brannigan, Rodriguez, very, very good players. But there's obviously still a lot of work to do for the likes of Goodrum. Plaqueta is still working his way through. Now, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him, because there was a moment during the game which has been captured and shared across social media where he sort of swings out at one of the Coventry City players. Forgive me, I can't remember which player it was. You can probably let me know down in the comments section. But he swings, and it just then causes a bit of a problem. And if that is looked at by the EFL or the FA or something like that, he could find himself with a ban for what is it? It'd be violent conduct, I imagine. So that's something which will need to be looked at. Now, obviously, if we look at the two benches, obviously Mason Clark, Thomas Asante, Jay De Silva and Casey Palmer. For Coventry, and then Oxford bring on Matt Phillips, Idris El Mazouni, Louis Sibley and Dane Scarlett they've got a long way to go, Oxford, to sort of be a championship squad, but they are certainly getting there now. This first like talking points of the game, it's sort of very, very interesting one as we get onto the stats now, and you can see Coventry were by far the more dominant side, had more chances, missed more chances, committed more fouls. They were better in possession, with keeping the ball. And obviously, if you look at the XG and things like that, from set plays it was 0.58, from open play it was 2.37. Coventry City obviously deserved the win in this game, but Oxford United certainly kept them at bay and created all of their chances in the opposing penalty area, and that is the important thing, and that's what Des Buckingham will be hoping to do across the course of the season. It's going to be interesting to see how this develops, but let's get into the next game. Next up then, we have a surprise win for Derby County as they took on Middlesbrough at Pride Park Stadium. Caden Jackson picked up the winner in this one after just 14 minutes, and it was a very, very good game. And for me, it was one of those where one team was defensively really solid and the other team just could not cut them open. Now, the goal did come from a bit of luck and fortune. Now, I did make a full match review and a bit of a match day vlog on this, so that'll have been out on my channel on Saturday afternoon. So if you want to go and check that out, make sure you go and do so. But it was one of those games where early on, Middlesbrough were the dominant force and were the dominant force throughout the course of the game. But Caden Jackson stepped up when his opportunity arrived. Isaiah Jones played a bit of a sloppy pass, which sort of reminded me back to the start of the season where Derby County played Wigan, and I think it was Sonny Bradley did a really similar thing, and that obviously cost Derby County 3 points, and Isaiah Jones has done the same. Caden Jackson, lightning pace all the way through, took it around the goalkeeper, put it into the back of the net. It was a really, really good performance from Derby, but I don't think that the Middlesbrough fans should be disappointed. We know that they were sort of the leading team in this game, and I think, again, if we go back to what Oxford United did, it's the giving up possession and letting the opposition have the ball and create chances, and then you hit them on the counter. You look at that, and Derby took 3 shots, 1.03 XG, and only one big chance to within 29% possession. You look at Middlesbrough, and they 20 shots on 1.73 XG, 2 big chances. Now, they did have the ball in the net at one point, but it was ruled out for offside. Now, I think when we get into looking at these two sides, you've got to look at the differences in quality. Now, obviously, Derby County just coming up from the League One, and Middlesbrough battling for promotion in and around there last year and over the past few seasons, and that's where they should be this season. Now, early on, Derby County lost 2 of their better players in their squad, in Erin Cashin and Kane Wilson. Cashin cleared the ball, got hit with a kneecap in the head and failed the concussion protocol, so he could be out for up to 21 days if he keeps failing that. Kane Wilson pulled up after being fouled with a foul that wasn't given, and he had to go off. Now, the replacements in Sonny Bradley and Ryan Niambi were absolutely excellent, and looking into this game, I think people really need to start taking notice of David Ozo in the centre of the park. Now, he didn't have his greatest performance versus Blackburn Rovers the other day, but he certainly did today. Caden Jackson obviously stepping up when it was needed most, with a brilliant attacking and defensive display from him in those wide positions. Now, obviously, we go on to looking at the Middlesbrough side, and I really do think, I think the ratings are about right, really, when it comes to, like, I think Matt Clark was probably one of the better players on the pitch, really tried to dictate the tempo for Middlesbrough, and that doesn't surprise me from when he was here at Derby County. Now, I think, other than that, I don't really think they made a great deal happen. I thought they were really poor at times, and you look at the bench, and Michael Carrick has, like, 20 million's worth of players to bring on, whereas Derby County bring on free transfers, and Ibu Adams the most expensive player with £500,000. So it's obviously massive to sort of Derby County to get this result. But you look at the numbers and it's obvious Middlesbrough did create a lot of chances. Now, for me, being at the game, I didn't ever feel like they created anything clear cut. They had a couple of opportunities which we made really good saves, and a couple of opportunities that deflected onto the post. But for me, I don't think Middlesbrough were that good. Now, I also don't think that they had a chance, which I think has been counted on here, which went in, the offside goal, and I just think that it sort of distorts everything, because that was probably the best chance they had throughout the game. And ultimately, Derby County come away winners. A bit of a grudge match, and Derby County take the bragging rights. Now, Pompey versus Luton was a very, very interesting one, with Luton Town losing their goalkeeper Kaminsky quite early on after a bit of a reckless spell from him, where he came out to try and win the ball and failed to do so, and it then obviously put Luton Town in a bad position, and that's why the numbers look the way they do. Now, I'm assuming if you were to talk to a Portsmouth fan, they'd probably say that they think they should have won this game. And you look at the control they had, obviously with Luton being down to 10 men, that's obviously going to happen. But 66% possession to 34%, 0.93 XG, whereas Luton Town created more with 0.95, 15 total shots to 9 for Luton, with 2 big chances to 4, with Pompey having only 2. Now, if we do look at the lineups here and we look at the goalkeeper, which replaced Kaminsky early on, we scroll down to that, James Shea replacing him. And I just think that we've got to be sort of really careful when looking at performances like this, because this Luton Town side nearly stayed up in the Premier League. I know there's a few different changes here, but I think Pompey did really well to get a point from the game. I think if it was 11 men, obviously, I think it'd be a completely different game. I think Portsmouth wouldn't have had the control that they had. So obviously that's something which we have to acknowledge. And I think games where you lose a man, I think it really distorts the numbers and the statistics behind it, especially when it comes to possession and things like that. Now, obviously, Pompey, 15 shots, 6 on target, 2 big chances missed. Luton Town, 9 shots, 4 on target, 4 big chances, 4 big chances missed. You can see the discrepancy in the amount of passes that were accurate and things like that. And you can also see, if you go down to the XG, there's a little bit of a discrepancy, with Pompey getting most of their joy from set pieces in this game. So it's one of those for me where I feel like Pompey really should have gone on to win this game, but I think they failed to take proper advantage of the 10-men situation which they were facing. Luton Town did really well to hold in and obviously keep the ball out the back of their net with only 10 men. So we're obviously going to see how those things develop over the course of the season. It could be a very interesting one for Luton Town, now missing their goalkeeper. And another 0-0 draw in those early kickoffs. We only had 1 goal in those, with Derby County taking that. And it was a very even game between West Brom and Leeds United, with both sides really unable to create any massive chances. The only really discrepancy was in possession, when you go 60% to 40%. But if you look at shots, they're bang even. If you look at big chances, they're bang even. And realistically, if you look at this momentum chart, it is also bang even. Now, we're going to look at the lineups for the two sides, and you'll see that both of these sides sort of, they're kind of in different positions, but they're aiming for the same thing. And I think this West Brom side, I don't necessarily think that it is a promotion calibre team, but I think with the manager that they have in Carlos Corberán, I think anything is possible. I think he's a really, really good manager at this level. And obviously Josh Maja coming off the back of a hat-trick, unable to pick up a goal in this one. Colin Grant's not yet off the mark. And it's one of those for me where both of these sides are sort of aiming for those promotion positions, whether it be playoffs or automatic. And I think Leeds United will be disappointed. They've only picked up 1 point in their opening 2 games, and they will have wanted more, especially from that first game versus Portsmouth. But there's a lot to come, obviously, from this game. And obviously they have lost some players over the last week, with obviously Somerville moved on. It looks like Ruta is going to go to Brighton. I'm not sure if that's completed yet. And obviously, if you also talk about the other players that they've lost, you look at Archie Gray and things like that. And there's obviously a long way for them to go before they're obviously comfortable. Now, obviously, West Brom obviously have Lewis Dobbin who they've bought in on loan. I think he's gone to Aston Villa from Everton. I could be wrong on that one. It might not be Aston Villa, but he's coming on loan to West Brom. Now, I saw Lewis Dobbin in League One, and his big problem was he didn't take his chances. And will he be able to show that he's improved that side of his game? That's going to be something interesting to see. Now, obviously, if we look a little bit deeper at the statistics, West Brom had more of the ball and sort of made more opportunities in a sense of passing around, but they weren't necessarily any better than Leeds United. And obviously, if you look at the numbers, they are pretty much identical, and that's something which obviously it's good for West Brom, but for Leeds United, they'll be devastated with that. Only it's 2 points, isn't it, from their opening 2 games, a draw and a draw. So it will be interesting to see how they sort of progress over the next few weeks, and hopefully, not for me obviously, but for the Leeds fans, they can start picking up some results, because I know it can get a bit toxic around Ellen Road. We've seen it in the past, practically empty, so we'll just have to see what happens with that in the future. Now, in my opinion, one of the games of the week, and it's a 4-3 win for Bristol City versus Millwall in what was an enthralling game. Late goal, a late Scotty Twine winner sealed the deal for Bristol City, but Maheti, Armstrong, Malalu picking up the other 3, with Esse, Bradshaw and Watmore picking up the goals for Millwall. And I think when we look into this game, we're going to see really why Millwall are the way they are. And obviously the more dominant possession side was obviously Bristol City, with that passing style of play that Liam Manning's trying to instill over there, that once he got in at Oxford they flew. Obviously XG wise it was 2.74 to 2.22. bear it in mind Millwall did have a penalty. 11 shots to 15 and 5 big chances to 3. Now we're going to look at the lineups in this game, and there's a big player that I want to mention, and it's a player that Derby County lost in the summer, and it is Max Bird. And an unbelievable performance for him. I think he got given man of the match by Bristol City. 2 assists, helping Bristol City to the win. Armstrong picked up his first goal of the season and his first goal in Bristol City colours. You look at captain Jason Knight doing really, really well as well. Now, I think when you concede 3 goals, you do have to look at the defence, and obviously they still came away with the win, but I think there's still a few problems in that back line for Liam Manning to solve. Hopefully that's something which they can do over the course of the end of this transfer window, maybe bring in a little bit more to shore it up back there. But Max Bird, whether he's playing in this 10 role that it suggests, I do not know. Now, he did play there quite a bit for Derby last season in sort of a 3-4-3 system, but it's good. Obviously, I've not really watched much of Bristol City. I will get round to doing so, but a really, really impressive performance from Max Bird, Jason Knight as well, Williams and Armstrong and Maheti also putting in really good performances. Now, if you look over to the Millwall side, you can sort of see where a lot of the joy came from. Leonard really struggled. You look at the defence, they really struggled too. Obviously, Honeyman picking up an assist, Esse scoring, Bradshaw getting a penalty goal. So it's one of those for me where I think Bristol City deserved the win in this one. And that's just going to be sort of the interesting one to look at across this season. Obviously, 2 big chances missed each, but Bristol City created 2 more than the opposition. And if we do go to look into like the expected goals and things like that, non-penalty wise, it was 1.43 for Millwall compared to 2.74 for obviously Bristol City, who created nothing of note from set plays. And that's obviously interesting to look at. There's obviously sort of a long way to go for both of these sides, but I think Bristol City are certainly finding their rhythm now under Liam Manning. They've got a long way to go, but they will find their route. Now, as we finish off the first half of this video, let's take a look into Burnley's 5-0 thrashing of Cardiff City. Now, they've scored is it 9 goals now in their first 2 games in the Championship. Some really good goals in there as well. Cardiff City just didn't really have an answer for Burnley in this game, and I think it just shows the disparity between some of those relegated sides and some of those new teams. Now, and this is what I mean by they didn't really have an answer, because you look at possession, it looks pretty even. You look at expected goals, again, it looks really, really even. You look at shots, it's quite even. In fact, Cardiff had more shots. But if we go and look at the statistics over here, it's going to be sort of, if you look at the first goal, now, some of you may have already seen the first goal, but when you give away a goal like that really early on, where you pass it back to the goalkeeper and the goalkeeper miscontrols it, goes into the back of the net, it's just a really disappointing way to start the game, and it sort of sets you off on the back foot. And Burnley really, really capitalised on that. And as you'll see here, 4 shots on target, 5 goals, obviously one of them being an own goal, and 3 of their goals coming from outside the box. And that's something which is absolutely massive in this division. You've got to take your chances. You've got to be clinical. We will go and look at the lineups in just a moment. But if you look at this, set play wise, 0.13 for Cardiff City, 0.48 from open play, whereas Burnley created the majority of their chances from open play. And I think Scott Parker has really become a Championship specialist. And you look at, obviously, the team that he's got available to him, and I'm not surprised they're in the position they're in. Obviously, Dara O'Shea looks like he'll be heading out at some point before deadline day, but that deal's not yet done, so they're taking full advantage of that. And obviously, you look at the Cardiff City side, and really, apart from Aaron Ramsey, no one can really take their head away high when it comes from a statistic rating basis. And obviously, if we just look at the bench available for the 2 different sides, you look at Cardiff bringing on Maliki Wilcott, Ollie Tanner, Callum Robinson, and then you've got Scott Parker, who's able to bring on Goodmanson, Weghorst, Noah Masengo, and it's just 2 completely different worlds, really, isn't it? And I do think Burnley are going to be one of the favourites for promotion this season. I didn't quite anticipate Scott Parker to be as influential as quickly as he has been. I thought it would take a few weeks to sort of find a rhythm, but he's done really, really well so far. Now, if you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below or in this top corner to stay tuned for all of my latest Derby County and EFL Championship and League One match day previews, match reviews, news videos that are going to be coming out in the near future, as well as things progress over the course of the season. So make sure you've hit that subscribe button and turned on the notification bell. Make sure you let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll get back to every single one of you. And right back into it with Norwich and Blackburn drawing 2-2. Blackburn Rovers have got on okay without Sammy Szmodics for the first time this season. And I think Norwich again are going to be a bit disappointed with this. Now, they were obviously the dominant side in this game when it comes to a chances basis. But obviously, Derby County fan as I am, Blackburn take their chances. You can't give them an inch because they take it, and they've done very, very well in this game. So Blackburn Rovers have obviously done really, really well in this game after Norwich City were really the more dominant side when it comes to a chances basis and what they created from their 14 shots. Obviously Blackburn Rovers only creating 7, and the disparity in XG is there to be seen, 2.06 to 0.89. But possession-wise, Blackburn really did hold their own. Now, if we do look at the lineups, and obviously missing Sammy Szmodics is massive for Blackburn Rovers, and obviously he will not be a part of their season going forward. He's completed a move to Ipswich Town, and you look at, it's a pretty similar side to the one which faced up against Derby County, and I think Derby County in that game were really naive after getting their equaliser, and I think that is the reason why we lost 4-2. It was a very naive sort of second half performance. Now, if we look more into this one, obviously Sargent picking up a goal and an assist. Me personally, I think he's way too good for the Championship level. You look at Doyle picking up an assist as well, Science getting a goal. But then you look at, obviously, some of the players on this Blackburn side. You're looking at Dolan to come in and start to create that impact which Schmodic's had. You look at Hedges, you look at Gay up front, and obviously there's a long way to sort of go for these two teams. But obviously you've also got players coming off the bench for both sides, like Anel Hernandez, Liam Gibbs, and Abu Kamara, really, really interesting players. And then you look at Andres Weimann and Yuki Ohashi, and there's a long way to go for both of these sides to sort of find their true starting 11, and that's obviously going to come as the season progresses, and as injuries, suspensions happen, you'll find players that will pop in and fit better than your other players. So that's something to sort of look at for these managers. Now, obviously, you look at the opportunities created and you think, realistically, Norwich had a lot of pop shots from outside the area, but realistically, they had a lot of shots and opportunities, and both of their goals came from opportunities in the box, as did the ones with Blackburn. If you look at sort of the XGs over here, you look at non-penalty XG, you're looking at 0.89 for Blackburn compared to 2.06, set plays 0.36 for Norwich, 1.7 from open play, and it's a really interesting one. We're certainly going to see how these teams develop. I think Blackburn Rovers sort of will be safe this year, but Norwich are really going to be expecting more as they head into the next part of this season. Plymouth Argyle pick up their first point under new manager Wayne Rooney as they hosted Hull City at Home Park. Now, Sissoko, I thought, was one of the only bright sparks they had in that battering from Sheffield Wednesday. He picked up a goal after 52 minutes. It's really interesting when you go through, I think it's on the social media of Plymouth, you've got one of the coaches telling Sissoko get a shot off, and when he finally does, he picks up that first goal of the season. Coyle picking up the equaliser for Hull City, and certainly one of those games for me where both sides were sort of in and out of the game in spells, and both created shooting opportunities, but neither created anything really clear cut. And I think that shows in the XG, 0.69 to 0.80. All their opportunities weren't necessarily the types of opportunities which you want to be taking. Now, if we do go and look into the lineups, and you can see that Wayne Rooney didn't really make much changes heading into this one. Obviously, Whittaker, Sissoko playing either side, Hardy through the middle. I think it's quite an interesting side, this Plymouth Argyle one, because I do think they have the capabilities of staying up, but I also think there is a real chance where they could end up in that relegation scrap. And you look at this Hull City side, if you'd have told me last season this is what it would look like, I'd be sort of very, very disappointed. Obviously, missing those players who have moved on to bigger and better things in the Premier League, and that's something which they're going to have to deal with. And Liam Miller has came in and stepped up, picking up an assist in his first game. Coyle continues to be Coyle, and it's just one of those for me where they just need that little bit more, and it will come over the course of this season. Obviously, they've brought in Mason Burstow recently, and then obviously you've then got like other players who are going to come in over the course of the rest of this window. You look at obviously the bench for Wayne Rooney, and I think you look at Giarbi, you look at Isaka and Callum Wright and Ben Wayne, and you want them to sort of step up and have more of an impact this season. And will Wayne Rooney be able to do that? That's something which we are going to see. Obviously, this one ends 1-1. Plymouth Argyle first point on the board after a 1-1 draw with Hull City. Next up, we have Sheffield United versus QPR. Now, this is another one where a red card was involved in the game, and it was for a substitute who came off the bench late on for QPR. Now, Gustavo Hamer and Keith Moore pick up the goals early doors for Sheffield United, and they probably thought game done at that point because they were 2-0 up after 13 minutes, but QPR fought back and found a way in with goals in the 55th and 88th minute from Dunn and Dykes respectively, and they found a way to take a point out of a game where they really, really did not deserve it. Now, possession is very, very even, and it really does feel as if Sheffield United thought they'd won this game after that second goal and sort of gave up possession. Now, 1.71 XG in Sheffield United's favour to 0.69. 14 shots each, 2 big chances for Sheffield United, 0 big chances for QPR. Now, if we look at the two lineups, we're going to see a face which I'm really disappointed to see in QPR colours, and that is Karamoko Dembele. I was really hoping that he would sign for Derby County this season, but he's gone on loan. I think there's an obligation to buy in that as well, which is going to be interesting to see. But you look at this Sheffield United side, Gustavo Hamer picking up a really good goal and an assist as well. I think that's goal and assist in both the opening 2 games for him. You've got O'Hare getting off the mark early doors. Obviously Kiefer Moore getting in there as well with a goal, and it's going to be interesting to see how this team at Sheffield United progresses. They've got some really good players in there with obviously Harrison Burrows, Oli Arblaster. All of these players are going to progress over the course of the season, and I look at this QPR team and I don't really see much to be impressed by. I do think I may see it more as the season goes on, but as it stands right now, I think they need a little bit more. I think they're a little bit undercooked, and obviously they've got players who are going to come off the bench, and that's what we're going to talk about right now. Is Jack Colback came off the bench at half time, was sent off at about 85 minutes in that region. Now they ultimately still picked up a point, so it does not really matter, but you obviously then look at someone like Jack Colback going and getting sent off, where as they've got sort of Raksaki to bring off the bench. Now I think he should have probably come on earlier, Ryan Brewster as well, just give them a little bit extra after they score that first goal, QPR, but obviously Chris Wilder felt otherwise. Now if we do look a little bit deeper into the statistics of this one, you can see that shot wise QPR were sort of mainly in the box, but they had more opportunities outside the box. But it doesn't matter when you pick up the result. You obviously look at Sheffield United, basically all their shots are in the area, and I really do feel as if early doors, if I was to watch this game, I get the impression that Sheffield United were the better side, picked up their 2 goals and sort of let QPR sort of dictate things, and I don't necessarily think that is the right thing to do. I think we obviously saw it with Derby County, worked really well against Middlesbrough, picked up their goal after 15 minutes and then sat in, defended well, didn't really create much else after that. And it's one of those for me where I just think if Sheffield United went all out, I think they probably win this game, but I think they just sat in trying to protect their win, and ultimately it didn't work. It's something for Chris Wilder to look into as the season progresses. He'll obviously be hoping they're in that sort of promotion battle, but with 2-2 draws, they're certainly not going to be in there or at the top end anyway. But the championship is the championship, and anyone can beat anyone. I think this weekend shows that more than anything. So shall we get into the next one? Now, Preston North End started this week with a brand new interim manager. Took charge of 1 championship game. I think he did the cup game in the midweek as well. But a 3-0 loss versus Swansea City at Swansea City Stadium, with Grimes, Abdullahi and Vipotinic picking up those goals, and then he walks away. I think the plan was obviously for him to take charge until a new manager was due to take the position, but that obviously hasn't happened, as he's decided, you know what, I'm not doing this. And if you look at obviously the numbers behind the result, and you can see that Swansea have dominated this game, not just in possession but in chances, in shots, in everything. So that's something which Preston North End are going to have to address as quickly as possible, because right now they're looking like they're going to be in that relegation scrap, and they won't want that. And that's certainly not what I've predicted for their season, and I'm really surprised by how they've started this campaign. I knew Ryan Lowe had his haters, I knew people didn't like him and things like that, and I always thought they punched above their weight, but this season it feels like they've sort of found their level again, and it's going to be interesting to see how that sort of changes over the course of the season. You obviously look at this Swansea City side, and I think Matt Grimes is an absolute brilliant player. I think he really dictates play for this Swansea City side. You look at the likes of Cooper in there as well, and obviously Cullen will find his rhythm as the season goes on. But you look at the Preston side, and Thordarson certainly hasn't had the impact that a lot were expecting him to have, including myself. I thought with the interest that Derby County held, I had a decent look into him, and he looked like a really good player, but he's not had that impact. Now, obviously, is it a problem with managers? Is he sort of now going to be regretting the decision because the manager that's brought him in is gone? The second guy who's come in has gone. So it's going to be sort of a long season for them. Now, there's a lot to go on with this game, and I think it's really interesting to look. When you look at, obviously, their opportunities. 4 shots in the box out of 5 for Preston North End. Obviously, 1 outside the box. But nothing real clear-cut. Now, you look at Swansea, and they had their opportunities all within the box, took all of them. They only had 3 shots outside the box in the entire game, and that's just something which you have to do at this level. You need chances in the box. If you're not having chances in the box, you need to be able to hit the target from outside the box, and that's what obviously Swansea City have done today. And you look at the difference in open play XG, it's 1.53 to 0.68, even 0.11 to 0.08 in set play XG. It's certainly something which Preston North End are going to be hoping they can address heading into the next round of fixtures. Obviously, that kicks off next Saturday. We will have a preview video out for that, so make sure you've hit that subscribe button to stay tuned, and let's get into the next one. Watford so far, I think, have surprised a lot of people. I think I put them in a fairly decent position in my predictions video, but a 3-0 win versus Stoke City has really put the cat amongst the pigeons. A lot of people tipped Tom Cleverley to take Watford to League One, and that has not happened as it stands right now. Now, yes, we're only 2 rounds in, and if we go to League One from last season, I think the likes of Exeter, Cambridge, were all up there. At one point towards the start of the season, and that's something which obviously you can't ignore. These things happen where teams start really, really well, but you look at the numbers behind the performance: 55% possession to 45% possession, 2.27 XG to 0.85, 24 shots to 7, 3 big chances to 2. There's obviously a long way to go in this season, but Watford have certainly found a formula that works for them. And if you then obviously look at the players on the pitch, you look at the likes of Sissoko, who's a really, really good player. You look at Kiembe up front in that forward line, and he's really, really good. And Stoke City just weren't able to sort of stop this Watford team, and they've done really, really well in this game. And obviously, you look at the players that they can bring off the bench, and it's going to be a long, long season for Watford, because there could be changes as things progress through the season. We've seen before with Watford that a couple of losses and the manager is on edge, so it's going to be interesting to see how Tom Cleverley does with that. Now, you can just see the pure domination in this game. Watford 24 shots, 8 on target. They had more shots on target than Stoke City had across the entire 90 minutes, and I think that's interesting to look at. And obviously, XG wise, as you can expect, pure domination from Watford. And there's not really much else to say about this game. Watford took their chances, they dominated the game, they really shut down Stoke City and didn't give them an opportunity to even have a sniff of victory. 2 goals in quick succession straight after half time, and then another one in the 73rd minute sealed the deal for them. It's going to be interesting to see how Watford do. A lot of people tip them to go down. I think they'll stay up. I think they'll do fairly well. We're going to have to see what happens the rest of this season. Sheffield Wednesday then started their season with an absolute thrashing of Plymouth Argyle, but have been brought back down to earth, with Sunderland showing them who is boss and who are the real promotion contenders. I said in my preview video that I do think this is going to be a proper sort of promotion battle. I thought it was going to be a lot tighter than it was, and 2 quick goals in the 11th and 15th minute, and really they had 3 quick goals, really. They scored 3 within the space of 15 minutes, and it was a really good performance from Sunderland, really in control of the game, and Sheffield Wednesday didn't really have a sniff. Now, Josh Windass had a little bit of a stinker today, and if we go back last week, he was fairly decent, but today just not quite on it. And you look at the numbers behind the performance, and there's nothing particularly special about what Sunderland did. They just created chances and made them, and what a brilliant performance they put on, taking everything, really. Didn't leave a single chance on the table at the Stadium of Light. And if we do look at the lineups in just a moment, then we are going to see the likes of Dennis Sirkin, who put in a really, really good performance from left back. Jack Clark stepping up again. Patrick Roberts with another brilliant performance. Obviously, Mayenda really making that number 9 position his own as this season sort of progresses. And 09, a player who a lot of people don't like, but for me, he's got something about him that makes me like and appreciate him. And a goal and an assist for him today. What a performance he put in. And you look at that Sheffield Wednesday side, and you look at Jan Valery, who had a difficult day. Realistically, the whole team had a difficult day. It just was not their day to come away with anything. And if we look at the numbers behind the performance, only 3 shots on target for Sheffield Wednesday. Majority of their shots were sort of pop shots from outside the area. You look at obviously the shots for Sunderland, and 2 of their goals come from inside the box, 1 from just on the edge. And realistically, once they took that 3-goal lead, there was no sort of going back. Sheffield Wednesday did attempt to make some changes at half time, but it didn't really do anything. And I think this might be a bit of a bang back to earth for Sheffield Wednesday after such a delightful start to the season, and that's something which we're obviously going to have to keep an eye on as the season progresses. It's obviously a long way to go in this season. Now, we've gone through every single championship game. Let me know your thoughts down in that comment section down below. Let me know what teams you think are shaping up to be promotion and playoff contenders, who you think is going to be in that relegation battle. I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say. I'll get back to every single one of you down in the comment section, and I'll catch you in tomorrow's video. Make sure to go and find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football weekend.